Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, I got a sneaky feeling that we might not be surprised how the Hawks play tonight.
And would a move from the West Coast to the South actually mean anything to the people up in Flowery?
And last but not least, and for the culture, I was just starting to like Juju. That's all coming up next, right here on ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
First off, I want to say thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast. And wherever you download your podcast, make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate that from you in advance. Today's episode of ATL Day One is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on today to get started. But T, when you're thinking about getting this bad boy started, the Hawks need to get off to a good start tonight because we talked about how we were so good yesterday and how they were playing and everything, but I was just going through some numbers and kind of did a little digging. Like, Trae Young is the motor that get this bad boy going.
Mm-hmm.
Guys shooting over 90% from the free throws in his last
Mm-hmm.
5 games, 36% from three, and he's averaging 13 assists in the last 5 games. I got a sneaky feeling that Trae Young might be on one tonight.
And maybe he will, but I have a sneaky concern that he nor his teammates will be on one.
That's well, you should.
Yeah, let's just be honest. In all of those numbers, which, hey, that's great. Has it paid any real dividends? I mean, we're still talking about this team being at 500. We're
Right.
still talking about a team that as recently as January 20th got blown out, or rather January 27th, got blown out by the Knicks. So the Knicks have actually been playing better.
Yeah.
And to me, that's where the concern is. Now, granted, no Kevin Durant, no Kyrie Irving. So they blow out the Nets Monday. But the way that they went about it is what concerns me. And granted, the Hawks did return the favor on January 20th, if you will. But again, I'm looking at this from the perspective of, okay, how have you been playing the last few games and what are you going to do to right the ship? Because one thing that concerned me was this. In the post-game press conference, Trae's comment was basically, we could score on anybody, but it doesn't matter if we don't play defense. Okay, so are we laying it at our own feet and acknowledging that we are the challenge that we are talking about?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's
progress, right?
Yeah, that's what my question is.
Yes.
But it's progress in verbiage. But
Yeah.
is it real progress is, I guess, my point. So I really am going to reserve my comments for what I want to see tomorrow. Now, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the starting lineup because that could make a difference as well. DeAndre Hunter, I believe, is still listed as probable, but you never quite know. When you make your way onto the injury report, there's still a cause for concern, right? Because probable might end up leading to load management and you're out. And of course, Landry Field said on yesterday's morning show with our guys, John and Hugh, that he expects that John should play tonight, but John is still listed as questionable, John Collins. So again, depends on what lineup you put in place and whether or not, like you said, maybe Trae puts another chip on his shoulder, meaning that we're 2 days away from All-Star Weekend really kicking off, and he likely won't be there. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's like we've always been waiting to see mode with this team, right? Like, but sometimes you get fed up, but you just looking from a not too close to a view, right? Or we kind of a macro, like they won 11 out of the last 20 games, which is a couple of games over 500, which is better than what they are right now. So I think that just looking at some of those things and thinking about, DeAndre, obviously, if he doesn't play, that would be a big hit. Obviously, with John Collins, they are a better defensive team when he's in the starting lineup. Imagine that concept. So I think those are some of the things that you have to truly bank on and hope those guys kind of push through it and get back out on the court and see if they can get a win before going into All-Star break. And I think that that's something that's not too, not much to ask when you're talking about,
It shouldn't be.
getting into it, right? And
Yeah.
also, I think it's a good thing that the leader, the best player on this team, is talking about, hey, we got to play better defense. If it's in his mind, I'm sure he's heard it from some other people in that locker room, and I think that if he starts to show and play
Mhm.
better, I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody else will follow. Outside of DeJounte Murray, because we know how he gets down.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, we got one guy that we're fine with, but everybody else, and Clint Capella for the most part
Yeah,
has done
yeah,
his part. Maybe he was off one game in that, whether you go with the last 5, the last 10, or the last 20 games, really just off that one last game once they returned. But again, or once he returned. But again, you got to be mindful of who's trending up, right?
yeah,
And in that last game, yeah, you smoked the Knicks, but Jalen Brunson has been steadily improving.
yeah.
And so that would be my question. Point guard to point guard, how are you going to stop the guy that just dropped 40 a couple nights ago?
Yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be a very interesting matchup because that's been a really good addition for the New York Knicks, and obviously
Yeah.
they added at the trade deadline, bringing in Josh Hart as well. So they have some depth and they are ready to roll. They will be without Mitchell Robinson, so that'll be something that they could probably take advantage of down low. Now,
Well, okay, and here I go again. I rarely go this route.
here we go.
Yeah,
Let's go.
I try to
Let's
keep
go
it
there.
positive.
Let's go, T. Let's go.
But let's just be real.
Yeah.
Mitch Robinson has been out of that lineup for a long time.
Yes.
Just saying. So I
Indeed.
would not hang my hat on the fact that Mitch Robinson is not there, because real talk, and I'm just being honest, Mitch Robinson, he was a non-factor when you got smoked the last time.
Yeah.
So I hope you get it right. Jalen Brunson, and I'm sure DeJounte Murray is going to bring help. And then somebody, anybody, everybody,
just get in the way
put a
of
body on
Julius.
Julius Randle.
Just get a body. Just stand in front. Stand in the way.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But no, Jarvis, you know, half joking, half serious, because that's absolutely the truth. You have got to get ahead of the play. You have got to get in front of the player. You've got to get in front of the ball, and then you have to stay there, because he is just, even in the blowouts, he still had fine games. So yeah, just that's all I'm saying. Let's just keep the main thing on our way into All-Star.
Yes, indeed. Let's get a dub, please. That's all we ask. Now, T, real quick. Now it's February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day. Now, there's somebody that's been showing the game of football a lot of love on social media. One Calvin Ridley. You know why? He can apply for reinstatement back into the NFL as of today, T. And when you start to think about this thing, like, we've had interaction with Cal. I've talked to Cal several times. You talked to Cal several times, one-on-one, in scrums or what have you. Like, I don't know about you, T, but I'm really rooting for this guy. Regardless of how people may feel about his situation, what he did last year, I am really rooting for Cal to kind of get things back on track and do well down there in Jacksonville for the Jaguars.
Yeah, and I think he will. I absolutely think he will. I believe, was it Christian Kirk who was their leading receiver last
Kirk,
year?
Mm-hmm.
But Christian Kirk also had under 70 catches. So that's not exactly like blazing a trail there. So you look at, there's opportunity. Trevor Lawrence is trending up. So
Kirk might have to move to the side to be. We're keeping it funky.
Exactly.
Step to the side, bro.
Yeah, I'm sure Trevor Lawrence is salivating, because it's like, oh my God, I have a real wide receiver one, coupled with the fact that he gets the opportunity to, quote unquote, play with his former teammate Foye Oluokun. And the reason I mentioned Foye is because it's like Jaguars have just been stacking. They've been stacking. So if you had to land somewhere and kind of rebuild your name and rebuild your reputation, that would be the place to do it. And of course, having Doug Peterson there as a coach, I think that's the kind of coach, if you're under his tutelage, he can kind of help you to evolve as a player and as a human being. But yeah, I really like that as a landing spot for him. I think he couldn't have landed in maybe a more plum spot. I mean, I hate it for the Falcons, because boy, it's always hard not to think of what it could have been. I mean, could you imagine Kyle Pitts, Drake London, and Calvin Ridley in the wide receiver / tight end room? What the heck? Would have been great. But yes, I'm with you. he's still a great guy who just made a very, very egregious decision. And we definitely wish him well and hope that he can bounce back big.
Absolutely. We also wish you well as far as trying to get you some money. But guess what? As we head into All-Star break, why don't you? It's the perfect time for you to go ahead and download that FanDuel app because it is the number one sports book in the entirety of America. And they're our new sports book partner, right? So here's what you need to do. New customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if you don't win in your first bet. How about that? If you don't get your win, you'll get up to $1,000. That's all you can do. Just download the app. It's safe, secure, and it's easy to use. Because, the NBA playoffs are getting ready to run. They got all the over-unders, player threes, how many threes they make. They got simple stuff. All you got to do is just go to FanDuel, and they'll have it for you. So here's what you do. Don't miss your chance to get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. FanDuel.com/locked on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Speaking of which, a couple of teams in the NFC South are trying to make the most of their offseason. They've gotten themselves into and have kind of been swimming around the waters, trying to get themselves into the Derek Carr sweepstakes. Well, now they can officially get in because the Raiders, of course, released QB1 on Tuesday. And the Panthers and Saints are salivating, trying to get him there. And it's interesting because the Panthers definitely, of course, everybody knows that they have the cap space to be able to go after him and they have assets. What I don't think a lot of people realize is that the Saints, everyone always says they're in cap hell and then they always end up getting somebody. And it's like, how did they pull it off?
Every year, T.
Every stinking year. So if they want him, trust and believe they'll find a way. Because remember, they were one of the finalists to go after Deshaun Watson. He just chose the Browns because the Browns were the team that gave the full guarantee. Mm-hmm. That said, I feel like, first of all, the Falcons are still in the catbird seat, maybe until the Saints get Derek Carr. That might make it a little bit different being in the catbird seat. But you think about Derek Carr and the fact that for them, he would be a starter, both the Saints and the Panthers. Here, maybe not so much, because I personally don't believe he would be the type of veteran quarterback that the Falcons should or would or could consider bringing in, because he wants to be a starter. And I believe the Falcons already have a starter.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, T, because like we've talked about on this show, how we really feel or believe that the Falcons are going to build around Desmond Ridder because that's what makes the most sense, right? Like they were super sold on this guy last year at the Senior Bowl. Terry Fontenot said those exact words. Like they were sold on him because of the consistency that he brought every time they interact with him, whether it be on the field or in the locker room or in the cafeteria or wherever, in the bathroom. It don't matter. And that's one of the things that I feel like as an organization, you got to believe what you see or believe what you feel. If you feel and believe that that's the guy at that moment, that shouldn't change a year later. You know what I'm saying? So I think that a veteran quarterback would make sense for the Falcons, but definitely not Derek Carr. And I think it's really interesting that you have the Panthers and the Saints being the main suitors for Derek Carr, because I think they really feel that the Falcons may be in the best place in the NFC South to compete, because you got a young quarterback who showed promise. You got some weapons on offense. Your offensive line run block from a great standpoint, and you're maybe one addition away to be able to be much better in the pass blocking category. And then you got enough capital and money to go out and build your defense. And you got a defense coordinator who you wholeheartedly believe in, who has the general manager talking about winning the games on both sides of the football up front and not on the outside. Yeah, T, I think the Panthers and Saints, they are on notice because they understand what the Falcons bring to the table. I really wholeheartedly believe that.
Yeah, and the Falcons should take notice that the Saints and the Panthers are on notice, because I think everybody right now is feeling the same way that Dirty Bird fans are feeling, right? So I feel like in New Orleans and in Carolina, they're both saying, well, shoot, this division is wide open. I think all three teams believe that the division is wide open and that they can do something major to vault them to the top of the conversation. And I can't disagree with that if you get Derek Carr. That does change the game for both of those franchises, because we did see what Steve Wilkes, especially, and I'll highlight him, with what he was able to do for the Panthers on the backside of the season when he was interim head coach, and they still didn't really have a squad on the offensive side of the ball. He was able to work with little or nothing and keep them in contention for the playoffs for as long as the Falcons were in contention. So I do think that it could go both ways, right? To your point, Falcons looking like they do, shoring things up, may make the Saints and Panthers over here think, ooh, we got to get cracking. But then once they start getting going and they show their aggressiveness, if they're going to be aggressive and get into win now mode, then that could put some more pressure on the Falcons as well. Like, hey, your easiest path to the postseason is still going to be winning your division.
Absolutely.
So now that they're shoring themselves up to try to get the NFC South, what is it that we're going to do? So I kind of like it because I feel like no one should rest on their laurels based on what they think they have right now or what they think they're going to get. Go hard in the paint and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, especially in today's world, right? Because you got Frank Reich, who's a new head coach. He understands what's going on and how people really feel like he didn't deserve to get that job. So he is hiring a super uber veteran coaching staff,
Yes.
from Chip Caldwell to Jiro Avero, as far as, being the hot defense coordinator or hot head coaching candidate to bring him in as a DC and Deuce Staley. So he is loading up on that coaching staff. So and you got the Saints who, hey, they know they have some guys on defense and they have some guys on offense as well. They know what they need to be able to get them to where they want to be. So, and Dennis Allen knows he ain't got long, because I'm sure they'll pull the trigger if they feel like he's not the head coach going forward for the next few years. So I think this NFC South division is in good hands, and people understand, except for the Buccaneers. Like, I can't speak for them. Like,
right,
they
and
seem to be out of the conversation right now.
Exactly. Our conversation has been on 3 teams ad nauseum since the Bucs got ousted from the postseason and Tom Brady did his 17-second goodbye video. Like, at that point,
was short too, by the way.
Right, compared to last year. But yeah, they became a non-factor instantaneously.
Right.
They became a non-factor instantaneously. So yeah, I do think it's one of those situations where, you probably are going to have more upheaval on the sidelines, got more upheaval on the field. Who knows what that front office is going to look like as far as upheaval? I don't know. So yeah, I do think it's very difficult to keep them in the conversation at this point based on so much uncertainty across the board. That's just, how I feel. But look, Falcons fans, you're still in a good position. Tampa Bay Bucs fans, not so much. So if you live in Atlanta and you're a Bucs fan, you might want to invest in some Built Bars, because from now to the NFL Combine, to the actual draft and free agency and all points in between, it's kind of hard out here for you. But at least you can eat a nice coconut almond bar. Churro is a great flavor, peanut butter as well. And again, we go to the fact that it's easily digestible, right? It's soluble because and we talk about the 17 grams of protein. When a bar gives you that kind of energy that quickly, you could go out and do just about anything, like me trying to get back to my sexy dance self, which I'm not today. So maybe I need to eat a Built Bar as well so I can get my energy up and get moving. And also 130 grams of fat. Remember, we always tell you guys, or calories rather, that is still a decrease. The reason we mention it every single time is because if a company's that committed to your health, you should be too. So you can continue, of course, to order it at Built.com if you're like most people and you like doing it online at the comfort of your own home. Go for it. Or if you like being at Wally World because you just want to be entertained by everybody at Wally World, go to Walmart and you've got boxes there. And of course, the big bulk boxes at Sam's Club. So again, check out Built Bars because really it's good to you and it is good for you.
Absolutely. What also is good for you is subscribing to our YouTube channel, Locked On Sports Atlanta. 2 shows on 1 channel. Hitting Hard with John Chuckery and ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. That's us. You listen to them right now. So if you haven't done so, go out and hit that subscribe button. We're on our way to 6,000 subscribers. Get on the plane because we're going to leave with you or without you. We're accepting. We're accepting in this world. Come on into the family. Grab your a red Solo cup and join the party. How about this? But T, This is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture, and sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because it's just how we get down on the show. Today is no different. How about this? I was just starting to like Juju Smith-Schuster. T. I know that may be a little far fetched for you, but for me, I I was starting to like the kid. You know what I'm saying? Because he was on after the Super Bowl. He was being interviewed. He had and the announcer had asked him about you know, did he know about the bonus incentive that he had achieved? And he was like, no, what is it? Talk about it. And he said that he had to play half the snaps or the offensive snaps on for the Chiefs, and he had to get a certain percentage of yardage or whatever for the year in order to get $1 million bonus.
Mhm.
So and he achieved that because he played most of the snaps in the Super Bowl. So
Yep.
and I was like, oh man, he looked like he genuinely was like, oh man, that's dope, man. Yeah, go get this money. I'm like, all right, cool, man. All right, good. And then the next day, he just messed it all up. The man done tweeted out the whole Valentine's Day card with James Bradbury's picture on the card saying about holding on to your love and all this stuff. And I'm just like, man, come on. So
Yeah.
AJ Brown, the wide receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles,
Yes.
did exactly what everybody else who saw that card felt like wanted to do. He retweeted it in quotes. He said, first off, congratulations.
Right.
But secondly, TikTok boy, you ain't all that. and you on a 1 year deal with the Kansas City Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes dragged your butt, essentially to the doggone Super Bowl. So you need to chill out. Come on, T. Like, what is up with Juju? I know you're a big time Pittsburgh Steelers fan. You don't hide that at all. Like, so you have some experiences with Mr. Schuster.
Yeah. And he was a different dude to begin his career. He was 19 as a starter for the Steelers and was still riding a bicycle, like did not have a driver's license. He would ride back and forth from his apartment to the stadium. Yeah, like just a really cool kid. Right. But then all of a sudden, you have the Antonio Brown meltdown and the Steelers part ways with him, and they kind of elevate Juju to wide receiver 1. Right. And ever since that elevation, it was just one thing after another with the attitude and with little commentary or whatever. And you already know Mike Tomlin does not play that. So Absolutely you not. Had to go. Now, when you landed with the Kansas City Chiefs,
especially when you're not that good.
Yeah, when you're right, you're really a wide receiver too. Really yeah, yes. You're really a 2. But, yes. but we're going to go ahead and give you 1, and we're going to see what happens. Right. Because 1 is gone. So now fast forward and you get with the Chiefs, and I was like, oh dear God, this means dude is going to probably win a Super Bowl, without, not for my team though. But then he showed us just who he continues to be, which is a dumbass. But literally, like, keep those comments to yourself, because here's the thing. You really don't want to provide any type of bulletin board material for anybody, because the Eagles are going to do. Here's 2 things. The Eagles are going to do everything that they can to get back. And every day from now until next year, they're going to put this kind of thing up. Like, Bradbury's probably going to use this as motivation. Why do that? Yeah. Why? I mean, it's just, it's unnecessary. And I think too, it's like AJ Brown said. Now, you were impactful in the biggest game. Give you credit for that. But you had 3 touchdowns in the regular season. Where were you all 17 games to catapult this team to where it is? You're not that dude. I love that AJ Brown said that, because guess what? AJ Brown is that dude.
He is that dude.
So if he had put that meme up, everybody would be like, all right, AJ Brown. Yeah, they went out and got him for a reason, and he's shown and proven why. But you, Juju, you better be careful, because you might still not make a squad next year, or you might be signing for the league minimum or something like that. Be really, really careful about things like that coming back to bite you in the butt, especially when you're not that dude.
Yeah, like, come on, there's nothing else to be said. T said it all. You're not that dude. We're done with you. How about this? I'm not done with school days. T, how about this? 35 years old this week. How about that? You talking about Spike Lee, Lawrence Fishburne. I'm being real African American right here. Gina for Martin.
Tisha Campbell.
Tisha Campbell. Sorry,
her name.
I knew you were gonna get me. Appreciate that. But 35 years old this week. T. We talk about
Guy.
Jasmine Guy.
Just
It's just
Daryl Bell.
Yeah,
Just everybody.
I don't think other people. I don't think people really understand. Like this is what like school days, and I put Cosby Show and all that
Yes.
stuff and different world. I put all
Yes.
those different shows slash movies into the same category because here's what
Hmm.
it did for me.
Hmm.
Like it introduced me to college, right? Like
Hmm.
it introduced me to HBCUs. I was like, what is that doggone sweater that doggone Bill Cosby have on? What is
Right.
Morehouse? Even though I grew up in the city of Atlanta,
Hmm.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. So it kind of introduced me to got me to asking questions about like what
Yeah.
is this? What is this school? Or where is that school? Or where is this school really? Does this school really exist? So
Hmm.
it introduced black folk to the college life for
Yeah.
me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, dope for a dope ideas and concepts that they came up with back then, and I really feel like it had an effect on the college going community of today.
Yeah, and Spike Lee was someone who was authentically capable of telling our story in that way, having
Yeah,
been a Morehouse grad himself, and then
indeed.
even having Samuel L. Jackson in there. I think he was one of the, we call them Wodies in New Orleans. I don't know, locals, maybe that's what you call them here. But every campus,
Shouted.
every,
We use shouted.
oh, okay. I don't think I can say it correctly, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to even try.
Hold on, I say, are you gonna try to say it, please?
No, no, what he said. So every little HBCU has that similar. You have that similar experience.
Experience.
Probably
Yep.
99% of them because they're all land grant schools. And what land
Right.
grant basically means is the government gave you crap for land and said, "Hey, good luck if you want to try to build a school and educate." At that time, they
Y'all
didn't
can
even
have y'all
house
little stuff over
Negroes.
there.
Exactly. But what happened in most instances, Morehouse, Howard, Xavier, for example, is individuals said, no, we're going to make these institutions that produce excellence.
Yeah.
And that's what that movie was showing, the excellence, but also still giving us some undertones of things that we're still dealing with today. So it
Right.
dealt with colorism. And that was a key component because really that hadn't been dealt with.
Yeah.
Colorism within our community. So I really appreciated him for that. Also, Greek life, D9, fraternity, sorority culture. A lot of people, didn't understand kind of the pressures that come with that and the pressures of being online, but also if you're online, but your friend isn't, and how those things kind of mesh up or don't mesh up. Just
Yes.
all of the little pieces there. And
Break
then
up
you
friendships.
exactly breaking up, right? Relationships, friendships, and then
All
you
that.
always had those woke bras, like
Yeah.
Lawrence Fishburne's character. I
My
mean,
brother.
yes, like you had woke dudes all over campus, like
Yes.
for real, for real. So it
Yes.
was really so very dead on with every single thing that it depicted, even down to the doing the butt. Like, who didn't have the party at the gym where you just sweated until like sweat beads just rolling from just woo?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So it
Okay.
was just,
Good
it
memories.
was so, yes, it was
Mhm.
so iconic for being able to, in the earlier days before it got to be cute, culturally, popular and that sort of thing. He was the first one to really introduce the concept of what I always hashtag as HBCU excellence.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. And what we try to bring to you guys each and every day is excellence.
More
Because
HBCU excellence, actually.
yes.
That's right.
And look, yes, that's exactly what we try to bring to y'all each and every day. We want to say thank you. We'll end it right there. We'll thank you for making ATL Day One your first listen each and every day. And why don't you stop by Locked On Sports today and make that your second listen? You can find it wherever you find this podcast. Wherever you download that bad boy, make sure you do so for Locked On Sports today as well. And coming up on tomorrow's show, guys, we'll have a very special guest. Our own Grant McCauley will be reporting live from down at Brave Spring Training. Yes, he's down there right now, and he's waiting to talk to us. Imagine that concept. So yeah, make sure you guys tune in for that. And I got one more thing before we get up out of here. I ask you to do this each and every day. We don't just do it on Valentine's Day because, each and every day you need a little something like this. Why don't you show love, share love, and make sure, most importantly, you spread love.